All right, guys. Phenomenal Friday, guys. Phenomenal Friday. Listen, I am your host, Sean Wright East. Welcome to the Breakfast with the Brand. As always, flanked by the phenomenal Bobby Jackson. Listen, it's Friday, man. I'm excited. I think, if I'm correct, oh, yes. Oh, yes. I just got to check and make sure. Guys, we're almost there. We got one more Friday. One more Friday in 2023. That's right, the 29th, and it's a wrap. It's all over. What have you accomplished? What have you accomplished, right? Listen, I promise you, so I put something up, Bobby. I don't know if you saw it. I put something up. I said, what if this was your year? I put up a question. I said, what if this was your year? And everybody went bonkers, like, yeah, 2024 is my year. It's my year. I guarantee, like, 2024 is it. And I said, hold on. We're not in 2024 yet. So if we're in 2023 and I'm saying, what if this was your year? What I mean is, what if 2023 was your year? And somebody said, I'm toast. Somebody said, I'm toast. She said, well, then it's over for me. Yeah, Bobby. She said, well, then I'm done. Stick a fork in me. It's over. I want you to understand something, guys. The way you walk in to a new year is the way you matriculate, the way you move, like how you do anything is how you do everything. So how you do 2023 will be how you do 2024. You're going to have to make some drastic changes if you want 2024 to be different than 2023, because realistically, nothing's changing but the number. Nothing's changing but the number. You know, Bobby's in a very high-level program, Keys to the Throne, and we were talking yesterday, and I told him, I said, every day is the same for me. Every day, I have to remember what day it is sometimes when I come on with you guys and say, okay, it's Phenomenal Friday, right? Because every day is the same for me. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I don't have Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays. I have productivity days, I have purpose days, and I have preparation days. But realistically, when it comes to the name of the day or the number of the day, it's all the same. It's all the same. Routine. Talk to it for a minute, Bobby, before we go to a break.
Yeah. I think that's one of the most important things that I've learned about business this year is being orderly. And when I say orderly, I mean just being consistent. We hear these words and take them for granted, I feel. You know, be disciplined, be consistent, be organized, be orderly. And that's one of those things that if you do it right, I would challenge everyone to just pick one thing, and pick one thing that you've never done before and start doing it. And what you'll realize is that you might not be good at it. It might be hard. It might be uncomfortable, but the more you do it, the more you will start to get a feel for it. The easier it'll become, the less you'll have to think about doing the routine things. And I just want us to all think about what life would have been like this year, 2023, if we faced some of the things that we shied away from because it was hard, because it was complicated. I'll put myself on the chopping block before we go to the break. It was the book for me. You know, it was one of those things where it was like, I really want to do this. Like, I don't want to do this. Is it hard? Kind of, not really, but I don't want to do it. And it's one of those things where you got to do it. It's not negotiable. Like, you have to do it. And the moment I started doing it, I realized it wasn't so bad. So I just want everyone to think about that. Like, what is this thing that either a coach told you to do, or you should do? You could have done it. You should have done it. You didn't do it. And now you're like, man, I still got to do it in 2024.
Think about that, guys. We'll be right back. There's slow growth, and then there's scale. There's incremental growth, and then there's exponential growth. What I want to talk to you about is adding a zero to you and experiencing exponential scale. Incremental growth says 1 plus 1 is 2. Exponential growth says 1 plus 0 is 10. Incremental growth says 2 plus 2 is 4. Exponential growth says 5 plus 0 is 50. Guys, listen, when you add a zero to you, you can add a zero to the marketplace. You can add a zero to the value that you bring. So you can add a zero to your family, add a zero to your legacy. This is what we're talking about. We're not talking about incremental, we're talking about exponential. I always say that business is a spiritual game. Just imagine when you combine your skills, your values, your abilities, your talents to something bigger than you, something greater than you, something like the power of exponential. That is adding a zero. Add a zero to your competence, add a zero to your confidence. This is about adding a zero in your life, your value, your industry, and your mission. Let's grow. The reason why I did this and what I do is help leaders to become brands and brand themselves. You train people how to treat you by how you treat yourself. I teach authenticity marketing. If people can take advantage of you, they will in your personal or professional existence.
My biggest takeaway just from day one is you are the brand. I would recommend it to anybody that's really looking to build a personal brand.
Just the brand in general has changed my life. I've grown so much since I've been a part of this.
I see myself in what he does, and I believe in it just as much as I believe in myself.
You are the brand. You are the brand. I just want you to think about that, right? Like, for real, 2024, you are the brand. The brand is you. So I want you to think, like, when I began to say to myself, like, I am the brand, when I started to realize that, I said, okay, so what kind of brand am I? Am I the kind of brand that procrastinates? Am I the kind of brand that says I'm going to do something and doesn't deliver? Am I the kind of brand that says, okay, I'm going to do this, right? Bobby, I'm going to do this. I'm going to meet you here at this time on this channel doing this call. I'm going to do this podcast, but then I don't show up. And in order for me to show up for you, I got to show up for me. That's a true statement, guys. In order for you to show up for anyone else, you have an audience. Everybody watching this, you have an audience waiting for you. The question is, are you showing up? And in what capacity are you showing up for that audience? I always tell people, Bobby, there's no glass ceiling and no threshold when it comes to revenue. No glass ceiling, no threshold when it comes to revenue. The only cap on your earning capacity is the cap that you put on yourself through limitation of service. That's it. You are the brand and you have unlimited earning capacity. The only question is, will you earn, or no, this is not even a question. You earn in direct correlation to your level of service. Right now, you earn in direct correlation to your service. So be the brand that is integrous and honest and says, okay, if I'm earning here and I want to earn more, then I have to increase my service to match where I want to earn. Very simple. Share this out too, guys. Like, share this out so somebody else can get this information that you're here to get in the morning. Like, you're extremely intelligent if you're here to get this in the morning, but I want you to also be extremely giving and extremely offering. So share this out with your community so they can benefit from what you see as being important enough to show up to early in the morning. Let's grow. That's what I mean when I say serve. Level of service is sharing.
one thing that I was doing yesterday was reaching out to people and seeing how I could serve them. I was listening to a Billy Alsbrooks. Some of you all may know him. He's a motivational speaker in the high performance space, and he was talking about a experience he had. So he was traveling the world. He was in Europe, Spain, Belize, all over these places, and he said one thing that he found in common about all multimillionaires and millionaires that he came in contact with was that they all came up to him and asked the same question. And that question was, how can I add value to your life? That was the question that they would ask him while they were at his event. So mind you, like, he's the speaker, Billy's the speaker. These millionaires came up to the speaker and said, how might I serve you? Even though they were getting served. So one thing that I adopted, and Junior taught this to me as well, like a perspective. He said, sales calls become a lot easier when you're actually looking to help them and not trying to sell them a service. It's like, if you call them and you're not trying to sell them something, but you're actually trying to figure out if you can help them, like, what is it that I can do for you? You'll realize that the conversation is so much more smooth, because I genuinely believe that there's an apprehension. Like, if you know you're trying to sell something and you get rejected, you then feel rejected. But if you know you're trying to help someone and they reject you, you feel like they're lost, on to the next. And that's a much better feeling than saying, dang, another one bites the dust. So personally, I think as you all are building, as I'm building, one of those things that we should always remember is service over salary. Like Sean always says, service over salary. And when you do this right, in my experience, you can own the 30. It's another concept that I've been studying recently. And own the 30 simply means have yourself like a 30-second bit that you do between sales calls. So if you're trying to burn the line, so they say, call 100 people a day or get in front of 100 people a day, and you burn the 30 or you own the 30, what that means, as soon as you get off the call, have a routine for powering yourself up. That's 30 seconds long, and then get on the next call. And we call that owning the 30, so that your mind is always right. And you can own the 30, I think, really smoothly and simply by simply reminding yourself within that 30-minute time span that they didn't reject me. They didn't turn down my product. They simply weren't ready for help. That's it. They weren't ready to leave their situation yet. And that's not my fault. And that's a more, I think, stoic way of looking at sales calls and rejection, because it's more so, let me find the next guy that's ready to leave their situation, and I'm ready to help him.
Now this, we do everything live, right? So I have to interject.
Oh boy.
Right.
Yes, sir.
I have to interject, because if you're on a sales call, the person on the other side is a buyer. They are a buyer. Now, they might not be a buyer of your services, but they are a buyer. So let me give you an example. You sell car tires. If you're calling someone, even if it's a cold call, and they have a car, they're a buyer. They're just not your buyer yet, but they have 4 wheels minimum if they have a car. Now, if you're calling someone and they're a 16-year-old and they don't have a car, then they're not a buyer yet. No just means not yet. So you call, 16-year-old picks up the phone, light voice. I'm not driving yet. Okay, great. Well, what is your contact information? More contact information. Let me get your email, so when you become a buyer, remember me. I'll be right there waiting for you as you turn that corner to 18 or 17. When you get your license, if you're able to get your own car, I want to be the person that's going to provide your tires for you. Become memorable, guys. Become memorable. And he actually did clarify 30 seconds, not 30 minutes. Okay. 30 seconds. But I want you to understand this. Every person you speak to is a buyer. And if they're not ready to purchase, many times it's not their fault. It's yours. Assume the responsibility. That's what I'm going to say to you. Assume the responsibility. I'm going to give you a different perspective. There's one perspective of sales that says what Bobby just said. If they don't buy, it's not your fault. However, guys, listen to me. If someone's choking at a restaurant and you're qualified, keyword, qualified, to perform the Heimlich maneuver, and you don't, is it your fault the person choked? No, it's not your fault that the person choked. Is it your fault that the person left the physical plane? If you didn't do everything that you could possibly do to revive and save the person's life, then yes, it is your fault. And could you have gotten there quicker? Could you have responded quicker? Could you have learned more? Could you have been better at it? Yes, those are all possibilities. Those are all possibilities. So could it actually have something to do with you? All day in America, Dubai, Mexico, Puerto Rico. I don't care where you're at right now. If you're watching this right now, you are the solution. You are the solution. I am the solution. If I get on a call with someone and they don't come into the program, it's on me. It's not on them. There was something that I did not do. There was some kind of patience that I did not utilize. There was a technique. Why do I know this? Because everybody you speak to is somebody's client. It's very important that you know yourself to the highest degree possible, because it's through knowing ourselves that we're able to know other people. You are the most important person in the room, and the better that you know yourself, the better that you're able to communicate to others. So you're not only playing the game knowing who you are, but you're also playing the game knowing who everyone else is, so that you're not playing blind.
He's extremely engaging with people. He has a fantastic smile, and he's just a very high energy person.
This is called leadership development. So we have to be independently knowledgeable and considerate to know who we are, so we can more effectively know who other people are. As the leader, it's your responsibility to allocate resources in the right places. If you don't know how to communicate effectively, you're losing the battle. I said Sean Rais. I'm proud. I said Sean Rais. Leadership is not the brand they made for us.
Listen, he brought fire, heat. He didn't hold back.
20 years down the line, what I could sell, why not serve first? Service over salary. Branding like a leader closes the gap for people who want branding. Speaking like a leader closes the gap for people who are nervous about speaking. If Steve Jobs would have speculated, we wouldn't have Apple.
He changed lives. He helped people open up their business and start their business.
We are the brand. Some people say, Sean, should I quit my job? Mentally, yes.
As a speaker too, to be able to learn from him and watch him and you know, game respects game. And I want to have that much game someday.
The right client, pay $500,000 for what you do. You have to be bold in your beliefs.
He has been an amazing asset to this event and a pleasure to work with. Very captivating, collaborative, worked very well with the audience.
I want to help you. Put a 0 behind your number, right?
The session was great. How he is online, virtually, he is even more phenomenal in person.
Be the face of change that you want to see. Stop asking questions and start giving demands.
The entire team has just been absolutely incredible. They are a joy to work with. They go above and beyond.
Give yourself a round of applause. Yes, yes, yes. Listen, I absolutely love this. I promise you, like, business is a sport that I absolutely am enamored with. Like, I am in love with everything when it comes to business. So you guys heard me say just now on the speech that I gave in Chicago, Illinois, to the Society of Human Resources. During that interview, during that speech, during that talk, during that conversation, during that teaching, what I said was, as the leader, it's your responsibility to allocate resources in the right places. If you don't know how to communicate effectively, you're losing the battle. Communication is a sales skill. If you're not closing the deal, you're losing the battle. As the leader, it's your responsibility to allocate resources in the right places. Sales skills are not the exception. Sales skills are not the exception. Now, I want Bobby to speak to it because I want to hear his take on my course correction. It's my job as the experienced pilot that is now in the control tower to say, you're veering off course. Come back in line. A little bit to the left, a little bit to the left, a little bit to the left. Okay, so I'm going to give you one more example before I let Bobby come back with it. During my training this morning, sales training consistently, I'm going to give you two examples. I'm going to give you a prior example of something that I went through this morning, and then I'm going to give you something that just happened, real time. Okay, so this morning I'm going through the sales training, and there was a question about people who have high levels of resistance to sales. People have high levels of resistance. And my wife has a high level of resistance, man. Like, her action threshold is through the roof. Like, she is not buying anything. She's just not buying. She's not buying you. She's not buying your conversation. She's not buying your face, your walk, your talk, your artifact, your watch, your phone, nothing. I had to sell my wife on getting an iPhone. She loves Android. But watch this. The best close in my life, the best sale I ever made, was selling my wife on marrying me. And it took me years. It did not happen overnight. It took me years to close her on us. But it was the best sale I ever made because it added life to everything that I've done. It's added life to everyone that we touch. We have children that have been increased that would not be increased if it wasn't for that sale. So listen, everyone, if I did not assume the responsibility, if I was not responsible for the close, if it was not my responsibility to persist and to have patience and to figure out which way I had to come and with the words I had to use and the things that I had to send and the person that I had to be, the increase that I had to make inside myself, I wouldn't be here today. I would not be in front of you. Now, that's the real example of what I just had today during one of my trainings. And then during the break, just got a hit from a guy. Says, I'm writing you to request the rescheduling of our session this morning, as it seems I can no longer do it online. Just please. It's about the third time, huge deal. I don't really do like sales calls, but this is a huge deal, right? So he's attending a last minute meeting, so he won't be able to join the session. Now, a lot of people would see it as a brush fourth, the second time, third time. I don't care if it's the 10th time. It's a huge deal, and it's my job to give life and breathe life and correct the situation. So I have to assume the responsibility. I'm not going to say, well, it's his fault, or I'm so special that I'm not going to have patience and be humble. No, this is going to be strategic. I have to be strategic, and I have to be a different person. and find the avenue of entry. Find the soft spot, the sweet spot. So in Closing Like a Leader, I talk about cracking safes. To the safe as you're using medical fingers, surgical fingers, and you're feeling around for the pulse of the safe of a person's buying beliefs and fears and limiting beliefs. And you're like a safe cracker and a surgeon, and you're looking for the right combination. And if you're a moment off, if you don't have the patience, if you don't have the ear, if you're not trained the right way, you'll miss it. You'll have it open. It'll sink in. It'll be like, and you'll have it, but you'll go past it because you're not trained to that degree.
Yeah.
Guys, listen, I promise you this, man. This is no hyperbole. I will never lie to you guys. I will never tell you a lie. In order for you to change your revenue in 2024 and add a zero to whatever your revenue is, I don't care where it's at. If you're at 8 figures, you can do 9. If you're at 9 figures, you can do 10. The key to it, active listening, critical comprehension, critical communication, ironclad patience, immense and immediate intentionality, bulletproof deliberation, duck feather resilience, and knowing that it's your responsibility, 1000%.
This is, guys, I love when my brain starts firing the way it's firing right now, because I like making connections. I like making connections because I found that everything is connected in some way. And I just made a connection that I think a lot of us are going to be able to appreciate when it comes to closing the deal, sales. So I would say, imagine yourself as a closer, as an anesthesiologist. And I'll explain why. As an anesthesiologist. So I'll tell you a story. Me and my wife, we have 5 children. And our 5th child was what you call a breech baby. And a breech baby is a baby who's supposed to be head down for delivery, but the baby is head up. So if they try to take the feet out first, they run the risk of jeopardizing the breathing apparatus and all those different things. So we don't do that. What they want to do is they want to turn the baby around, or they want to conduct a C-section. So they applied the numbing agent to my wife's belly to perform the C-section because they couldn't get the baby to turn over, to turn head down. So when they applied the anesthesia, my wife was looking down. And as she was looking at them and they started to apply the scalpel, she was like, ouch, it hurts. I feel it. Now, if she wasn't looking at it, maybe it wouldn't have hurt. Or maybe she wouldn't have thought to think it hurt. If she wasn't aware of what was going on as much, maybe she would have been more susceptible to the procedure. But because she wasn't, what they said is, okay, the only way we can do this procedure is if we put her to sleep. So they had to put her under, and once they put her under, they performed the procedure. Ladies and gentlemen, if we were to go talk to our clients, sometimes they are in a state of panic. They're in a state of distress. They're in a state where they're bleeding out. They feel like blood's everywhere. They don't know what to do, right? I hope that wasn't too much for some people, but they're in an uncomfortable space. And if you try to go in and conduct a surgical procedure on them while they're fully awake and conscious, it's like, it's not happening. It's not happening. So I think one aspect of being a closer is understanding that once they get on the call, they've pretty much given you permission to save their lives. They came to the hospital. Like if they didn't want help, if they didn't think that they were in dire need of assistance, they wouldn't have come to the hospital. The moment they book a call, you can imagine them saying, okay, I'm coming to the hospital. I'm here. So now that they're in the hospital with you, you have a staff, a team, I hope. And this team are your competencies, right? So one of the team members should be closing, and their job is anesthesiology. They put the client to sleep. So to speak, they put them at ease. They relax them, they calm them down, they get their mind off of it. They say, don't think about this. I am here to do exactly what you need me to do. And your course or your product or your service can be like the surgeon, the one that goes in, gets everything done, makes it all happen. So that was the thing that came to mind for me when I thought about closing and just really helping the person help themselves. If I come into the hospital and I am frantic, I'm giving you guys pretty much all the permission you need to save my life. If you need to put me under, put me under. Just don't let me bleed out. Don't let me leave this place the same way I came or worse. What do they say? Do no harm. That's the first rule that you learn as a doctor. So I think that one of the ways we can do no harm is by not leaving. One way to say it is leaving money on the table. I think that's a grotesque way to put it, but I think a much more anesthetic way to put it would be, don't leave clients on the table, not money. Some people say don't leave money on the table. I think it's a much more aesthetic approach to say don't leave clients on the table. They came to you to get sewn up, taken care of, put to sleep properly, woke up on time, given their popsicle, their water. Don't leave them on the table. Don't have them come to the call. You open them up and they need you to be patient. They need you to do your job. They need you to do everything it takes. Don't leave them on the table like that. Make sure you bring them
Crusher. Listen, I'll be honest with you. Some of my best clients, highest performing clients, Bobby, no exception, have come in and at some point tapped out. Some people tap out immediately. You can close the call. I mean, when I say close the call, you can successfully, victoriously close the call. Like you can have a contract signed, payment made, and 15 minutes later, a person's like, "Oh my God, no, I made a bad decision, and this happened. The cat ran over the dog. Something happened, and I need that back, or I'm not going to be able to do it. Something came up, or I'm having mixed emotions. I'm hyperventilating. All kinds of responses to good decisions. This happens. Think about marriages and cold feet. Think about a cyber detox, a technology detox. You take a boat, you get to a remote place, and you're like, here, take my phone. And you're not going to touch your phone for 7 days. Imagine what you would go through. You would go through immediate withdrawal. You'd be like, no, I'm sorry. I made a bad decision. Let me get my phone back. Please, dear God, let me get my phone back. And let me get back on the plane and go back. Or let me get back on the boat and go back. Immediate resistance takes place. But the point of the fact is this. From having patience, from understanding psychology, from understanding the client, from having individual client attention and not a cookie cutter approach or a bad attitude, and being understanding and empathetic and compassionate, by truly putting yourself in the client's shoes, you can understand this. I've had the same thing when I got into college. It was like, what am I doing? What am I doing? I'm 30 years and I'm 30. I'm not a kid. Like I say I'm just a kid from Harlem, but I promise you, I'm closer to 50 than you think. Right? So I'm like, I'm not a kid. I'm jumping into college. What am I really thinking about, man? Am I trying to make a long life-term commitment to change my life? And how long is this going to take? And I haven't been in college I haven't been in school for 20 years plus. What am I doing? But I chose to stick around. And I became one of the highest performers in the collegiate space. Not only that, I've become one of the highest performers in the business space. Not only that, I've become one of the top 1% earners in the world. We've broken ground on some things that have never been done. We're literally in the process of changing the face of leadership. And if you're here, you're one of the people that are witnessing it and a part of it. I was sent something from a phenomenal client. I won't mention them if they don't want me to, but phenomenal client is on a billboard in Times Square. Billboard in Times Square had an initial resistance. I think I made a bad decision. Bobby Jackson, 400% revenue increase, retired his wife, changed tax brackets. Hit me one day, said, Coach, I think I made a bad decision. You understand? So I want you to understand this, guys. Your best clients, your best, highest performing, most loyal, dedicated, high performance clients who are out there saving lives will be in that capacity because you don't just give up on them. You will do what you need to. So look at this. So surgeons save lives. Surgeons save lives, correct? Can we agree on that? Surgeons save lives. Yes. Surgeons at first invest hundreds of thousands of dollars. First, surgeons save lives. First, they invest $250,000, not knowing whether they're going to succeed or fail. They're called to serve a higher purpose. They want to save lives. Something bad might have happened to their mother. Something bad might have happened to someone, or they just feel called by God to be a savior or a helper. So they make this initial statement. But as they enter school, they go into MD and they go through the associates, the bachelors, the masters, years and years and years and years of sacrifice, no nightlife for some, right? Others maybe, but no nightlife. And then doctorate, and then intern, and then practice to get the experience. So they get the education, they get the experience, and now they're at the expertise space studying under someone else. That's like 14 years of dedicated instruction and learning. They're not executing. They're not getting paid. They're learning. Why? Because they're called to serve. So my question to you is, are you called to serve someone else other than yourself? Because if you are selflessly sworn to service instead of selfishly trying to serve your self-interests, then you'll have to make some serious commitments, some serious investments, and some serious sacrifices. $250,000 easy, 10 to 14 years easy. Now, if you find yourself or a loved one in a situation where they need surgery, aren't you glad that someone was willing to take the time? Aren't you glad that someone was willing to make the dedication, make the sacrifice, become a proficient, masterful student, scholar, practitioner? They made the investment. Aren't you glad somebody sacrificed when you find yourself in those situations? Well, this is the same way your client comes in. Like Bobby just gave the analogy, they're looking for someone to save, to give, to provide life, to breathe life. When you're a speaker and people come in, they could be in the worst case scenario. You don't understand. They could literally be contemplating taking their own life. As a matter of fact, in most crowds, there is someone who has contemplated that. And you have to be mindful, and a surgical speaker, a surgical technician, not just somebody with something to say, not just somebody who likes to speak because they have a mouth or feed their own ego or want to feed their own home. You have to provide life when you speak. When you coach, you want to provide life. I'm trying to give you guys the highest level of inspiration to learn the most critical components of closing that you possibly can, because it will allow you to feed your families for the rest of their lives. And if you're right about it, it'll be passed on through generation. You have no clue where this can go. You really don't. You have no clue. Bobby didn't know. He didn't know. He had no clue. 400% revenue increase year after year after year. No clue. You have no clue the brand that you can become if you dedicate yourself to service, make high-level investments, and lock in for the ride. This is The Breakfast with the Brand. We'll be right back. I want you to think about that.
Business is like a game of chess. It's not checkers. If you don't know how to lead with a personal brand, then you're losing the battle.
Everything about Sean's talk was fantastic. I mean, I got so much from it.
So he was really bringing fire and passion and just love and spirit to let everybody else know how do you become a leader amongst the leaders.
You hold the key in your hand. There is more power in this phone than there was that took the first man to the moon.
His energy, his dynamic information, gave a really great presentation.
I didn't ask for any money. I didn't have an offer. I had a heart to help people and meet them where they were at and find their need and fulfill it.
Sean is the bomb.
I don't talk theory. I don't talk hyperbole. I don't talk opinion. Nothing I talk is anything but evidence-based.
During the G-Circle retreat in Atlanta, I had the pleasure and the honor of listening to Mr. Sean Rais. He will not only impact your organization, but he will elevate your team to another level.
When you change you, when you put you into the equation, the whole system is different. I guarantee you, you got the right thing. You are the right person. If you can present yourself in the best way possible, there's no negotiation.
His energy is infectious, and I have so many takeaways from the presentation that I can't wait to get started and implement them today to see the result.
Confidence is key. Most of the people I work with, they have the education, the experience, and the expertise. We call those the 3 E's. But they're looking for the 3 I's, the income, the impact, and the independence. And I always tell them that the bridge between the 3 E's and the 3 I's is marrying your confidence to your competence. Most of the people I work with, again, have all of the competence in the world. What I help them do is get the confidence.
All right, guys, real quick. I want you to pay close attention to this.
It's very important that you know yourself to the highest degree possible, because it's through knowing ourselves that we're able to know other people. You are the most important person in the room, and the better that you know yourself, the better that you're able to communicate to others. So you're not only playing the game knowing who you are, but you're also playing the game knowing who everyone else is, so that you're not playing blind.
He's extremely engaging with people. He has a fantastic smile, and he's just very high energy person.
This is called leadership development. So we have to be independently knowledgeable and considerate to know who we are, so we can more effectively know who other people are. As the leader, it's your responsibility to allocate resources in the right places. If you don't know how to communicate effectively, you're losing the battle.
All right. Very good. Talk to me, Bobby. What are your thoughts now? Looking at this again, taking a second or a third look at it. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts right now are arsenal. Like, what does your arsenal look like? Because sometimes you're going to need to pull out the defibrillator. I think that's what they call it. Like, if they're going down, you got to like pull out the stops. Like, what do you have that you can use? So, like, if the scalpel is not enough, so now you got to pull out the other thing, turning kits, like all these different things. It takes me back to my time in the military, where we would hike, and in our kits, and a kit is pretty much what you take with you when you're deploying or something like that, we would have what's called a grunt roll. So a grunt roll is a pair of socks, bottoms, and a shirt. And you'd have like 2 or 3 of those grunt rolls so you could change clothes here and there. We would have turning kits, which is a device used to stop the circulation of blood flow if a limb were to get hurt. So you'd have that. And then we would have an IFAK, which is it's a kit of medical instruments. And then we would have our weapon system. We would have our ammunition, our magazine pouches, our gun cleaning kits. We would have all of these different things. So the reason we would have all these things is because at any position on the battlefield, we wanted to be able to respond. And I think one of the things about sales and closing is that you're in a minefield of the other person's mind. And you want to be able to strategically navigate that minefield so that you can bring them home. The way I think about it is like, in the ideal client's mind, they know they have a problem, but most clients have been trying to solve their problem, but they haven't been going about it the right way. So what happens when you try to fix something, but you don't know how to go about fixing it, you find yourself re-traumatizing yourself. You're like, I have a problem and I'm trying to fix it with the purple pill, but the purple pill's not working. You took one purple pill, pretty much saying, how can I get the business success I'm looking for faster? And you re-traumatize yourself every time you take the purple pill and it doesn't work. So when they finally get to you and you're saying, I don't have a purple pill, I actually have a process that you can go through and that is going to help you. What ends up happening, I think, is people have a minefield now that they placed mines every time they took a purple pill that didn't work. So let me make this connect a little bit more. Most people that you're going to do business with, that you're going to solve a problem for, have had their problem for more than one day. That's the first thing I need you to understand. They've had their problem for more than one day. And if they've had their problem for more than one day, they've probably tried to solve their problem more than one time. Please pay close attention to what I'm saying. If they've tried to solve their problem more than one time, they've probably gone to more than one place to get the problem solved. And what ends up happening is every time they go to a particular place to get the problem solved and the problem is not solved, they place a minefield. They place a mine there saying, I'll never come back this way. And they place a mine there. And what happens is they keep trying to solve their problem. They keep going to coach to coach to coach, course to course to course, place to place to place. They keep trying to solve their problem and they keep finding themselves unsatisfied or unmet expectations. So here's what's really happening, guys. They're placing mines. And when they place these mines, every time they go through something and it doesn't work out the way they wanted it to, they get so far down this path of seeking easy solutions that they finally realize that they have to make a real big decision to solve their really big problem. And when they get to this point, here is the scary thing that every closer needs to understand. They forgot where they put those mines. They laid them and they forgot. So now they couldn't make themselves back if they wanted to. So when you're closing someone, the reason the DISC assessment can be so powerful is, one, you need to know who these people are. And I don't even have time to go into that. But you need to know where they're likely to have put the landmines. Not only do you need to know where they likely put it, you got to be critically listening so you can see the tripwires. You can see what's outside of the terrain feature. You got to be able to hear what was cognitively dissonant, meaning they said one thing, but their body said something else. They were not congruent in what they said and how they looked on the. So as you're going through this as a serious closer, like when you really do this right, what you're doing is you're navigating tripwires that they don't even know that they placed. You're navigating minefields that they forgot about because they were so traumatized. And then you're saying, I know you can't walk back this way with me because you're not as stealthy, as strategic, as strong. Like you don't have the core strength to balance yourself over these. So let me put you on my back. Come on, boom. So now you put them on your back, and then you navigate them back through the landfill that they created, the minefield that they created. And then you get them to ground zero, which is, this was the original problem you had. These are all the reasons it didn't work. This is why I'm the solution that will work. And this is why you must, for crying out loud, stop trying to find an easy way to this solution, because there isn't one. And you can continue placing minefields that you can forget about and blow yourself up with, or you can let this be the last time you have to balance and duck and dodge minefields of your own placement. Yeah.
Look at what Kwame says. I love what you're saying, Bobby, but I want to look at what Kwame says. Kwame says, this reminds me that he wouldn't be here if many gave up on him. I want you to think of yourself, where you're at now and where you're really at, and how many people played a part in you getting here right now. Listen, it took so long for me to reconnect to who I was supposed to be. Somebody had to have patience. That's why I say I'm just a kid from Harlem who God chose to show his favor and mercy and grace, because without that, I wouldn't be present. And we are fashioned in the image. So we're supposed to have grace, mercy, patience. My wife had grace, mercy, and patience. She was my first coach. And she had the most patience with me for me to reconnect with my purpose and who I was supposed to be. Guys, we're giving up so prematurely. We're giving up so easily. And when we give up, not only this is the reality, right? You'll earn in the capacity. How did I begin? I said you will earn in direct correlation to your service. When we give up on those who are sent to us, or those who come to our attention, those who we are sent to serve, sent to help, when we give up on them, we actually give up on ourselves, because our revenue drops. Revenue is reward for services rendered. I'm trying to let me give you a quick MBA in a sentence. Revenue is reward for phenomenal services rendered. Again, if your revenue is not where you want it to be, check your level of service. And if you're out here trying to serve, then check the quality of your service. Because you can be given the service, but you might not be as great as you think you are. You might need to go back to school. You might need to come into brand new. You might need to really learn from people who have done the work that you're looking to do, and people who are actively involved daily in the skills that you need to develop. You might need to come inside. Look what Travis says. Habitual course takers want a course fix, but really need help with the character fix to achieve the desired result. You're very welcome, sir. He says, thanks for helping make the connection. You're very welcome. Like Bobby said, there is no quick fix. We have been able to collapse it as fast as possible, and Bobby's a representation of it. Bobby's a representation of it. You want a reward. Your reward, again, is in tandem, direct correlation to the level and quality of your service. And then the quantity of it. So quality and quantity, the Q2 framework, you cannot escape one or the other. You need them both. Like, I got a heart to serve people. Great. Do you have the skills to save lives? Because if not, you will not be put in a surgical position. To become a surgeon, it requires what it requires. I don't care how great your heart is and how much you want to help people. Listen, you can have the best intentions in the world. Where do they lead? The best intentions lead the way to what? Yeah, you can have the best intentions in the world and still hurt people unless you learn the skill. That link on the bottom is closing like a leader. Listen, just read it. Just go to the page and read it for yourself. Don't buy anything. Just read it so you can understand exactly what it is. This is the Breakfast with the Brand. Tomorrow, not the same time, but the same place. 8 a.m. Eastern Standard. You have one more Friday. One more Friday in 2023 to get the skills that you need to save the lives that you were sent to save. This is the Breakfast with the Brand. Let's grow.